Hello, everyone, and welcome to a ToB Film Club. As always, I'm Julian Mush. I'm joined by Jeremy Cozier,
Hello.
and we are going to be talking about another movie from the year 2000. So I'm not going to do a bunch of the Y2K stuff like I did last month. But
This isn't on purpose. I don't know why I keep choosing this era or Nicolas Cage movies for that matter.
Nick
How many
Cage
Nicolas Cage movies
movies,
have I chosen?
at least three, I want to say, for sure. I mean, I'm not
But this one,
complaining.
this one was on a whim out of nowhere because we needed a pick and a Christmassy thing, and I just
Yes.
kind of remembered this one.
Yeah, you kiboshed my
Uh,
pick specifically just to
right.
get this pick in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get a little bit of leeway because your picks have been pretty good, but you did say you were running out of movies from this era,
hmm
so we might be, we
Well, I feel like I should change it up. But I guess this era is when I was really just rifling through movies, I think.
it's certainly the era when you were
So,
like going to the
and I use
Blockbuster
this
and perusing
podcast
the
as
Val.
a right, and then
Yeah.
I use this podcast as a way of kind of revisiting these things because some of them, they have a specialness to them or whatever, and it's just cool to. We got to bring our own perspective to this whole thing, right? We can't just choose popular movies all the
100%.
time. So, I think, and the movie
Just flipping
is.
on a light. Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just flipping on a light. The movie is The Family Man from the year 2000, as I said before. This is rated PG-13, coming in at 2 hours 5 minutes, directed by the slightly problematic
None
Brett
other
Ratner.
than
Written by David
we know this
Diamond.
because of Olivia Munn's book, I
Is
believe.
that where that comes from?
I think so. I think she had
I,
some bad things to say about him.
I thought there was more. I thought the Brett Ratner stuff came out before that, but maybe it was like more from it from her
I don't
book.
know
I
what
didn't even
stuff,
know
but
she had a book.
my opinion, I think for us, we're not super into Brett Ratner because of X-Men 3, The Last
Well,
Stand.
yeah, that movie's
It was just a
got lots of
very,
problems.
I mean, it has good elements and story, yeah, but it just was a little bit of a disappointing, cap to the trilogy
Imagine X2,
with how
and
the
you're like,
first
what
two
could
were going.
happen next? We're gonna do Dark Phoenix.
Do you
So
know
cool.
why the original director didn't do the third one?
I don't recall. Making a different movie, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you
Did
know
that
which one?
movie did that movie actually happen, or was it like a
Yeah,
scheduling
it
snafu
happened.
that didn't? Okay. Um,
It's another superhero movie, and it's a DC movie.
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
Okay, that is you know what? Okay, I do
It's crazy.
recall. So what's funny about that is we'll talk about the new Superman trailer later in the movie, or in this podcast. But that movie specifically, I feel like has been memory holed by like most people. It just no one talks about Superman Returns, and it is a shame because that movie's not that great. Although it does have things that I like about it. Another problematic personality in Kevin Spacey as I think the best Lex Luthor we've ever had on screen. Um, we'll see. Nicholas Hoult might steal that crown, but I think we would have preferred a superior X3 than what we got from Brett Ratner.
Mhm.
Would you say that that's fair? If you could trade Superman Returns for a better X3, would you do that?
I don't know because I like Brandon Routh a lot, so I don't know how that would have played out for him. I don't know if he would have been the Superman for that movie. I don't know how that works. I don't really know too much of the
Yeah, I mean, well, there's
story
too. Yeah,
there,
you can't
but
get
I
too caught
really
up in
like him as an actor.
you can't get caught up in the butterfly effect. It's just like
I mean, for
you
sure.
know,
I think back then, I'm blanking on the director's name, but we don't really like to name him because he is a troublesome uh, individual who did some bad
lots of
things.
troublesome people. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the first two X-Men movies were phenomenal. I think the approach that he took, I think he said that he banned comic books on the set,
Bryan Singer.
even though he took major inspiration from the '90s cartoon, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously turned into X-Men '97 as recently. And it was just peak X-Men at the just wow, real life X-Men, and it gave us Hugh Jackman and James Martin and all that, right? So
Yeah.
I would say yeah. I would say I don't need that his version of Superman, essentially.
If it meant a
Yeah,
better X3, yeah, I agree with that.
there's your answer.
Because again, if the Superman Returns is largely forgettable, it's making mistakes from a like conceptual perspective that I think we are making mistakes in now in this like very different superhero movie era that we're in, where they really tried to go to the
Well,
nostalgia.
that one was just trying to be a Chris. It was a sequel. It was a sequel essentially to the
Yeah,
Reeves kind of era.
yeah,
It was trying to uphold that. And the thing was is that there was basically no action. The whole thing is
yeah,
that Superman doesn't even throw a punch, a single punch
yeah.
in
But he
that
does
movie.
get
Did you know that?
a bullet off his eyeball, and that's pretty cool. You can't deny that shot of the
That's
bullet off
cool.
the
And
eyeball
also
is
the
pretty cool.
the plane sequence is phenomenal too.
Yeah, no doubt.
The plane sequence is at like that's one you could like I don't think people do revisit it, but every now and then when it's shared or I see it, I'm like,
I,
holy hell.
I like that's so funny, Jeremy. I like this idea that like yeah, people just don't
But
go back and watch that movie. That's what I mean. I don't think people think about it.
th-
Like they wouldn't
they
think to do
don't,
that.
but it is
It's funny.
no, they don't. It's a disappointment as a whole. But when you see that scene where he's just flying through the air and he saves that huge plane, then it lands at I think the baseball field or whatever.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal. It's really super well done.
What sticks out for me is the like whole plot of the movie basically is that Lex Luthor has like used kryptonite in some way to create new like matter, like new land, and he's gonna make his
Mm.
own country or whatever in like the off the coast of the U.S. or like in the ocean, and but it's like I don't remember all the details. I just remember that was like the main gist of
I
it.
I also remember that the kryptonite set piece apparently was made in Winnipeg. I don't know if you knew.
Oh,
I don't know if you
really?
knew about that.
That's a cool,
Yeah,
fun
I remember
connection.
seeing that in the newspaper
Like
because
the
you can just picture him right where he's just holding that like super cool looking piece of kryptonite.
yeah, that is
It's
really
almost
cool.
like a diamond looking thing.
I'm again, Kevin Spacey was really good. He literally steals from an old lady on her deathbed. It's a very like cartoonishly evil twisting your mustache version of Lex Luthor, but I think it works for the character and it worked. And Kevin Spacey, brought a level of like gravitas to the character. But no, it's just not it wasn't right for the era ultimately.
Right.
And tried to cash in on that nostalgia. Maybe maybe ahead of its time in that way. Well, I mean, again, we'll talk about this more. Little
Mm.
teaser for later in the episode. All right, so let's get into the Family Man, and so I watched this a couple days ago. I want to say on Christmas Eve. So I was trying to find the right time and place. Now, some might be saying, "Wait a minute, isn't it after
That's
Christmas? Why are we
crazy.
talking about a Christmas movie now?" And the answer to that question is yes. Of course, you're right.
No,
It's after Christmas, and this is not maybe the most optimal time to talk about a Christmas movie. That being said, uh, it's December 28th, and as long as it's not the New Year, it's still Christmas season, in my opinion.
yeah,
So,
the radio
yeah,
stations still play the music. The lights are still
yeah,
up. It's yeah, for
100%.
sure.
Most people still have the
Even
tree.
in famous scenes of a New Year's Eve, there's still like Christmas
Yes, that's true. 100% true.
trees
So,
and like things, right? Hello?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I lost you there for a second.
So
But
moving on.
yeah. Um. Anyway, Christmas theme. The it's the holiday season. It's the time of giving. So, despite that, this is normally a Patreon exclusive episode of the podcast, as is tradition here at Tower of Babel. This will be a publicly broadcast version of this ToB Film Club for all to listen to. And that does mean we need to pick for next month, and I didn't think about that, Jeremy. So if you have another one up your sleeve, you let me know. Otherwise, we'll come up with something on the fly. That will be a Patreon exclusive for the first month,
See.
January of 2024. So just keep that in the back of your head. We'll think about that. We are also broadcasting this live or streaming. It's not broadcasting, it's streaming because it's the internet age. So we are streaming this live on Twitch and YouTube. You can subscribe to us and get notified when we go live because, again, our schedule for streaming is not set. No one's setting their watch or their calendar to the ToB streaming schedule. So just get notified when we go live. Join us in the chat. Be part of the conversation around movies and television. It's always a fun time. The chat has been bumping lately, Jeremy, in the small screen Star Wars Skeleton Crew episodes. Have you been watching Skeleton Crew? It's gonna be no.
No.
He's gonna say no. Damn it.
Said no. We have a delay here?
Yeah, I think we have a bit of a delay. It's a little unfortunate. But the thing with Skeleton Crew is, and this is just a quick pitch for both small screen Star Wars and the show itself because we need more viewers. It needs more viewers. Skeleton Crew is great. It's really funny. It's got a bit of a chaotic tone, but it totally nails it. And the whole pirate stuff really works for Star Wars. I was a little bit wary of what.
Did you play that Star Wars video game, Outlaws?
Outlaws? No, because here's why. A, I don't have a job and I didn't want to pay for it. B, I wanted to finish a Star Wars Jedi Survivor first and then go into that one. I also haven't played Spider-Man 2 on PS5. So these are all things that I have on my backlog for when I have money again. So, the world revolves around money, cash money. So when you have none, you can't have the option to do a lot of stuff, even if you have a lot of extra time. So anyway, definitely watch Skeleton Crew. It's really fun. The most recent episode 5, there's 8 episodes in the season, was really, really, really good. The highlight of the season so far. But even the first 2, which they dropped originally, I think are strong. Establishes this pirate concept. And they're really doing kind of like Treasure Island and Goonies. And the Goonies in space reference is the best analog for or comp for what it is. But it's really doing kind of like that wacky Star Wars stuff that you can imagine from the prequel era. I think it's kind of nailing a little bit of that vibe, and it's pretty fun. And Jude Law is great. You can't really fault Jude Law. He's amazing. So recommend it. You should watch it, Jeremy. I guarantee you would like it. There's no way if you watched it with your kid, there's no way that you guys wouldn't have a blast.
Yeah, no, it does. It doesn't look bad or anything. It looks like a fun time.
Okay, so now let's talk about Family Man. All right, so obviously this stars Nicolas Cage, Tia Leone, Don Cheadle, Jeremy Piven. Those are kind of the main cast. There's a few more that you might recognize in there, character actors. Here's the log line as written on IMDb. A fast lane investment broker offered the opportunity to see how the other half lives, wakes up to find that his sports car and girlfriend have become a minivan and wife. And I think that's a pretty good. This maybe the more modern movies on IMDb don't really have great log lines. I think this is a pretty good one. It actually tells a pretty clear and concise story of what's actually happening here. So, Jeremy, before I get into it, because I got my notes here.
Sports car to minivan.
Sports car to minivan is a really great 2-word, 3-word overall recap of what this movie is. But
that reminds me of there was a Paul Walker movie that I got on DVD or Blu-ray, I think at the time when HMV was around. But the cover made it look like it was a Fast and Furious type of movie or whatever.
Classic.
A little bit, but it had a van. It had a van though, and then there's a scene in the movie where it's close-ups. He's gripping the wheel. There's vroom vroom, revving the engine, and then he just peels into this spot and it's a van, and then he opens the door and his kids are getting out of school and he's picking them up in the loading zone.
So he's a former race car driver who's now a dad or something.
Switch up, something like that. I don't know what that movie is exactly, but that just reminds me of the whole sports car to minivan thing. There was an era where these big stars would make these kids movies. You remember the Tooth Fairy, and I think there was a one with The Rock and stuff.
This isn't a
Yeah, you
kids
got to
movie,
get the Tooth
but
Fairy is the. Oh no, that's Vin Diesel. Yeah.
yeah. I'm just saying, like the Family Man isn't necessarily a kids movie, but there was an era where like
No.
that was a thing that was happening. Disney had a lot of influence, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know, still do, obviously. So I guess
This is just your tip. This is just like your movie, like Scrooge or
yeah,
Wonderful Life type Christmassy vibe. Like you don't know what you got till it's gone. Like whatever that, like a version of that. Whereas this, he's kind of learning what he would have if he made a different choice, essentially, right?
yeah. We were talking about the butterfly effect
And
earlier. This
then
is like a
yeah,
version of what if the butterfly effect, but over I think it's 15 years between like the moment
hmm
and the 13 years between his decision and when we like catch up to them again. Yeah, I don't know. To me, Jeremy, it's like
hmm
it actually has a lot of similarities to another movie that you recommended, which is Heart and Souls, and because I think it has a
oh yeah,
similar
yeah.
vibe.
He just yeah. That's so true. Yeah. Just like an asshole on the phone, making deals or in business meetings, sports car, only thinking about
Yep.
himself. This one goes above and beyond though, because we see him in action, like on Christmas Eve or whatever, right? And
Yes.
like his
Yes.
partner's like rubbing his eyes with his Diet Cokes, and like it's Christmas Eve, he's talking about his family, and it just paints the picture of Nick Cage, just like he just does not care, like he's just always trying to grow and grow and grow, move forward or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's all stripped away from him one night what does he do? It's like some sort of good deed or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, he does. So
In
Don Cheadle, who again, this and the similar to me here with
he's like an angel character or
he's
something like
like an
that.
angel character, but again, just like Heart and Souls, the like spirituality and like meta, like not meta, but like the I guess magical element of the movie is unexplained and kind of just left ambiguous, right? It's like this is a character
Right.
that
Yeah.
is extra powerful, can be anybody and anything at any time, has the power to control the universe in some way. He
It's actually
references.
brilliant when you just see when it's brilliant when he's in his sports car, like when the whole switch
Oh
happens.
yes, that's so
Like
funny.
that whole scene is so good.
There's a moment
And
when he's
then when
like,
he's like, okay, I'll
yeah,
just get back in the
yeah,
car. I'll explain it to you. I feel bad for
yeah.
you. Speeds away.
It's so funny. Yeah, he pretends to open his car door a little bit, and then he's like, "Okay, we'll get out of the
Yeah.
car." Then he like just pulls away. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Super nice Ferrari too.
I don't think
It's like
it's a
yeah,
Porsche.
it's like kind of an old school looking.
It's a Porsche
Is
Cayenne, I
it?
think.
No.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
95% sure. Um,
Yeah, it definitely has like that 90s aesthetic to the car. Like,
but it's a
you know what I
pretty
mean? Like,
nice
it
one.
doesn't look
Like
as advanced today, but it's nice. Very basic.
90s cars look mostly bad in my opinion, but there's the odd one that looks really nice, and that Porsche. I guess the design of Porsches doesn't
Yeah,
change much,
that one
but
could fit
it's a
in
nice one.
today.
Yeah, I
That one
agree.
could definitely fit into the modern
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
So yeah, like the spirituality, magical element, unexplained, but it's all about like teaching somebody a lesson or giving or there being a moral, takeaway from the movie, right? And so in that way, they're similar to me. I miss an era because again, just like you said, like the from the '90s and this era, the businessman, quote unquote, like the fast talking, Wall Street business guy was the villain of like most movies. If you were that
hmm
person, you're a bad person, right? I feel
hmm
like we need to get back to that. Like that needs to be the like modern movies need to start portraying those people as bad again because we're in a new gilded age and it sucks. So and those people are largely to blame. Anyway, that's just a
Yeah.
personal grind that I have. All right, so Jeremy, what was your recollection of this movie? What stands out to you? What makes it fun and unique? What draws you back to this movie?
Um, I don't know if anything draws me back. Uh, I honestly don't even know how it came to me. It just was the Christmas elements.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see like him in his element, like in the beginning, like the Heart and Souls Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
character. I was also thinking about you and your job and like being a salesman kind of thing,
Yeah. Well, sure. I was thinking about
which
that
I thought was
too.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then like And then just the whole like it's all stripped away from him. You know, we met the woman in the beginning. He never
Yes.
gets and she pleads with him to stay. Let's just live our life, right? Um, and then just the real like, and then just him. He just has kids all of a sudden, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
his kids, and then he has to just like start changing diapers and whatnot. And like, he's asking like the, oh yeah, that's what I love
The
is
older
the older
daughter. Yeah.
daughter who's not even that old, who's not even old.
No.
Uh, is like where like she thinks that he's an alien. Like, what'd you do with my father? Because he's acting so strange,
Yes.
and he's acting so strange too, to where the wife is just like kind of accepting it, which is kind of funny. It's just like a midlife crisis, I guess she's probably thinking is
Yeah.
kind of going
Yeah.
on. But it's
Yeah.
just fun seeing him as the Nick Cage from the beginning of the movie, just being a family man out of nowhere when he's used to the
Yes.
suit. Oh yeah, the whole suits, the money, the suits, how it makes him feel. It's just I don't know. It's just like kind of cool to see him just bounce, just like be of another mindset while he's trapped in this whole era with a family, and then he kind of learns throughout the whole thing that like it's not about money or like she's like, what are you talking about? Like we have our house.
Yeah.
This was
I
the
know.
plan. We have our kids.
Yep.
You're a boss at this tire salesman job, which we get a glimpse of him being really good at out of nowhere at one point.
Yes.
It's like,
Because
what
he's a
more
good
do you need?
salesman.
And then he's
Because
like,
he's a good salesman. Yeah.
yeah. And then you just feel so bad for the wife when he's like trying to do this, and
Oh,
that. And
I
then he has this
know.
whole ploy towards the end, right? Where he wants to get his original job back, which
I
isn't his original
know.
job in that timeline. And it's like, oh man, he's almost doing it. He's like the craziest sales pitch of all time because it's almost like Groundhog Day where he knows
Well,
like
yeah.
what to say
The
to these
knowledge loophole.
guys. And like,
There's like a
and
whole
then,
loophole here that he's
yeah.
like
And then
exploiting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, and like, and then it's funny because then the new boss, like his old partner, like kind of gives it back to him. Like he's kind of like insecure over like how good he was in that sales pitch meeting,
Right.
which I thought was funny. And then like Nick Cage just like starts laughing out of nowhere when that guy like threatens him or whatever,
So funny. That's a
because
great
he's like,
scene.
because he's almost like, oh, you've grown up, like you've, because he's so used to him being like the
The
second in
pushover.
command,
Yeah.
like yeah. So I love that whole thing
I
there.
love when he slaps him on the shoulder and then
But
laughs
it's
like a
the
maniac. It's so fucking
Yeah, that's what I
weird.
mean. Yeah,
It's
he
so
just like yeah,
funny.
it's pure Nick Cage
Yeah.
ism. Like he's the only one that can give that to us, and he does that a couple times in the movie. But yeah, that one's a memorable one. But it's the daughter, right? Because how their whole game where he like asks her, "What do I do next? Where do I go now?" You know, and he's learning through the daughter, and then um, towards the end when he's just like he realizes that it's all gonna revert back, and like when he
Oh,
sees
yeah.
Don Cheadle again, he's
Yeah.
like just the emotion he conveys of like because like yeah it's oh because I remember when you like oh let me guess he prefers the family lifestyle over whatever. It's like yeah, that's the typical like whatever
That's the
story.
story. Yeah.
But seeing Nick Cage emotionally be like you can't like I'm not going back,
Oh
like
man, the
I'd
he
rather
says,
just have this simple life.
yeah,
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
crazy. The line specifically that gets you in that moment is he looks at Don Cheadle. He's like, "I have kids. I'm going home,"
Yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah,
that's so. I guess like again, I have to imagine this movie hits differently if you have kids versus well, if you don't. I
yeah.
don't
Oh
have
yeah, for
kids.
sure.
But like that, you can totally see because he was always a person like he even says to the girls like, "Do you even like kids?" And he's like, "It's on a case by case basis," which is funny. But
Yeah.
um, he comes around to the whole thing. It does feel like he comes around to the new life. I think largely off screen, which is a little bit annoying. Like you skip forward a little bit in time, and all of a sudden,
I
like
think
he's like
you're
really
yeah, I
into
think
it.
you're right, but we get a bunch of like side quests of him just trying to live out this life where he's like there's that one moment where he's thinking about cheating or whatever, but it's not really cheating because he
Yes.
doesn't really have those feelings for her. And then that's when Jeremy Piven's character comes out of nowhere and is
Oh
like, dude,
man,
what the hell are you thinking?
Jeremy Piven. By the
And
way,
then
I love Jeremy Piven. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, this guy has
yeah.
this like everyman quality about him. He should be working
Yeah.
way more.
He's
I
like
just feel like he's so good.
he's like a Sam Rockwell. He's like a Sam Rockwell in my opinion.
100%.
Like just really good character actors that could just nail it,
Well, Sam
whatever they're
Rockwell's I
doing.
think a beyond a character actor, but he's just another character, another actor that just I feel like deserves
Yeah.
more work. But like Yeah, Piven is great.
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen
But
him in
just
something that's not work.
just that realization. Yeah. And he's pretty small in this part. He's just like the
Oh yeah,
friend,
he
and he
only
just
he
kind
only
of
has like
gives
4
him
scenes. Yeah.
he gives him the information that you would want your friend to give you. You know what I mean? Because Nick's just trying to have fun in this scenario. But then we also learn from that character how good Nicolas Cage's character is supposed to be. Like
Yeah.
he's just sought after,
He's like a
right,
good
from this woman
person.
forever.
Everyone likes
Yeah.
him.
And then you see the family
Yeah.
video of him singing the song or whatever to his
Yes.
wife. And it's like that's the version that we never see that he essentially wants to become. And then what's crazy to the end of the movie, such a weird ending. Like he just
It's so
we have
weird.
2 kids. Like he just
It's
pleads with
so
it's like
weird.
it's a reverse of the beginning of the movie when she's waiting
Yes,
in
which
the
is
airport
cool.
and
I'm fine
pleading
with the
for
reverse
him
of
to
that
leave.
same
And
moment. I'm okay with
then
that. Which
yeah.
I think is weird is because to her it's a reverse of that same
He
moment
paints a
too.
whole picture.
She remembers it. But what's weird is
Yeah.
that he paints this picture of this life that she has no memory of, right? And I don't think
Right.
that would be effective. I don't think that would work.
But
it's funny.
I think it's mixed with his I think it's mixed with this whole sales persona pitch, but then it's
Sure.
like layered with the emotion because he's like it's his last ditch effort because he even said like if you don't believe me or whatever, like you'll never see me again. But
Yeah.
also I was thinking like so kids don't exist and it's 15 years later or 13
Man,
years later the kids
yeah,
don't exist,
he
right?
skips. It's so wild. So um there is
That's
so
the
the thing
loophole of the movie that doesn't that's the plot hole I think
there is well okay
a
so
little
it
bit,
skips it doesn't
right?
skip 13 it skips back to Christmas Eve after his
Mm.
life is reset, right? And the 13 years happened either way. He did 13 years of being an asshole rich person, right? Then
Yeah.
he has the glimpse as they call it in the movie where
And then
it's
he
months. It's
seeks her
months.
out.
It seems it feels like
Yeah.
months. It's at least weeks, but it's for sure it feels like months. And then he goes back to his regular life, and it's Christmas Day. He wakes up on Christmas Day, so those months have been erased. But I think
Yeah.
it's a cool concept. The thing is, I think that if this movie was made today, it would explore a lot more. I think maybe some of these like more sci-fi concepts around it about like, well, what happened to this
Yeah, oh
other
yeah, for
family and
sure.
life and like all this stuff. But in this era, that wasn't what the point. Like that's not the point. It's just like tell the story and like don't think about that stuff,
Mhm.
which is fair. I don't think you need to think about that stuff.
It
Like
is fair, but
yeah.
now viewing it, it's like, man, what about that daughter that she was
Yeah,
such a
she just doesn't
pivotal
exist
like
anymore. She just
role.
doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. And then if they do get together, they're 13 years older. How old are they in that
Right.
timeline? And then are
Yeah.
they going to have kids? And then will they have 2? And will those kids be the kids from the
No, probably
glimpse?
not. Right? And that's because
That
her life is
sucks.
also completely different. Yeah. You're right. It's
Yeah.
so shitty because I felt like when he goes
But they
back
don't
and he
give us
talks
that though,
to
which is good. They give us a
yeah.
happy ending.
Yes. Well, it's an ambiguous ending. They have coffee over the credits. So it's like who knows, maybe nothing even happens. Maybe they don't even get together anymore. But it's like and ultimately I guess it's a story about Nic Cage's character and Tia Leone is a like supporting character in that. But like she's so likable.
Good too.
Oh my god. By the way,
so likable. And
Tia
she's just
Leone
like trying to do her best. She's
just jumps to like the top of my list of like some of my favorite actresses from this time. It's like, first of all, stunning. There's that scene where she's like singing in the shower and it's like through the frosted glass and you're like, holy shit. And like that's when Jeremy Piven is like, everyone in this county would die to be
he
with
even
her.
gives her the props when he like basically holds her face and he's just looking at her and it's like, man, like you're such a angelic, sweet, innocent woman.
Yeah.
But then but then after that, he has the notion to quote unquote cheat
on her,
right?
Yeah,
Which
I know.
weird.
It's wild.
Yeah,
because of that like
and he just
hot
needs
neighbor
a reminder after reminder. Yeah.
So yeah, that is the thing. I think this movie is like very stubborn about keeping Nic Cage's character pretty much in line with how we meet him until it's a pretty quick switch. We see the moments where like he's accumulating knowledge about like how this life could be good, but what we
Right.
see him say and do don't really line up with those things until later,
Mhm.
which, you know, is
And
fine, but
then
like
she
it's
buys
weird.
him a suit that's like discount and half
And then he
off, and
wears
then
it
like
later.
it's so crazy.
He wears it to that
Where's it
meeting with
later for
those food people.
for
Yeah.
his yeah. Yeah.
Which is a
And even
cool
before
that's a
when he
cool moment.
busts into that place, like I'm the president, and he looks at the name
Oh
and
my
it's not
god.
his name. Like
Jeremy,
that's the whole like
that is the funniest moment in the movie for me. It's so
yeah.
hilarious. Like the way he says I'm the president and points at and then it's like
Yeah.
clearly it's not his name.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So here,
Because they keep saying his name, which I'm forgetting, but it's Campbell. Something Campbell, right?
Yeah,
You know
Jack
what they should have
Campbell.
done though? They should have they should have had a picture of the other guy, like
Yeah, you're right.
there. You
You're
know what I
right.
mean? Like
That's
in a
so
suit.
funny. Yeah, Alan Mintz. That's the other guy.
That he ends up using the Diet Coke line later. Yeah.
Oh
That
man,
guy's super good too. I don't remember seeing
Saul
him in much else,
Rubinek
but
is
he was
his
really good.
the actor. So here's my quick kind of like overall like thoughts on this. I think it's really good movie in the sense that I think it is paced well. The performances are like really good. Like I think the performances alone are worth the price of admission here, just because Nic Cage is putting on a bit of a clinic, in my opinion, in terms of like this kind of cliched role, which
He's
you
just
can
that
imagine.
guy. Yeah.
You can totally. He's just bringing this perfect energy. This like, I mean, he's bringing the Nic Cage energy, but when you apply it and mold it into this rich asshole persona and then drop it into the family man concept, it's pitch perfect. He's weird,
Yeah.
but like believably weird, like to the point where people would be like, "Why are you doing that?" And not in a movie weird way where it's like he's acting crazy, but no one's acknowledging it, you know. And
Yeah.
the supporting cast is amazing. As you said, it's got a bit of a weird ending. I think it has a bit of a weird mixed message about like what it's trying to actually say. It's clear that what it wants to say is that the life of the family man, quote unquote, despite being, in this case, this version of Nic Cage as the father working at a crappy job that he's forced to because because of a heart attack in the family and all these things, is supposed to be the like, what what it's all about, right? This is the real, who needs money? The real wealth in life is your family, right? And so that's clear. But again, I think the way that the movie portrays a lot of that stuff, I don't think it's like a super clean cut message, just because the way that Nic Cage comes across is like he genuinely loves his life, right? Like that's why it's so weird. Like he loves being a rich guy. He like loves the food and he loves the car and he loves the sex with hot women.
And then the wife has to just deal with this mental breakdown essentially. And it's almost like how is she even like accepting some of these scenarios that play out?
She's so chill.
Yeah.
It may be too chill.
But then I think the best scene is when he's like, I got this job, we got to move into the city, and then she just is like, what? And then they talk about how they wanted this house forever, and they talk about the realities of like the commute and when will you see the kids, and then even before that, the whole your paycheck is an embarrassment to all paychecks. Like such great writing, I feel like. In breaking things down like that. I love the moment too when he's just like sitting in the chair and like he's dozing off, but he's like trying to fight it. I don't know if you remember that part.
Yeah, that is funny because he's like he knows if he falls asleep, it's gonna.
Yeah, he's just staring. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's just that there's some mixed stuff. I mean,
for sure.
I really like Tia Leone's character, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, when
Classic
he gets
mom.
that job and he's pitching that like we can put our kids in the best schools and like
we could have a better life.
Right, like, and I get like
better life. Yeah. Like
it's also weird because he's like I want a life that people are jealous of. That's like how he presents it.
Like admire. Jealous,
and it's kind of weird.
But then Piven already said people are jealous. You're the head. You own this tire company. You make decent money. You have your house. You have your kids. Like
I don't think he makes decent money.
It just doesn't click for him yet. And when he realizes it's all going to be gone, well, I mean he has to if he's the
He's not
Isn't
the
he the
owner.
owner of
His mother. No, his father-in-law is the owner. He's like the sales manager at the tire
right.
company. Big Al.
Okay. But it seems like
Yeah.
it seems like his skills from the real life that he chose initially
Yeah, they
are going to
translate.
benefit him more moving forward if he was still in that glimpse. But the thing is, he's not in that glimpse anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
I
he
know.
has to
Okay, so
quit the job.
yeah. So that's the thing that's like, why? The thing that's weird to me about this kind of
Well, he's
stuff is
almost
like,
transitioned to where he doesn't want to work there anymore.
yeah,
You know, like
well,
it's almost like you see him and he's like he actually is done with. He's not fighting to keep that anymore. He wants the other thing. You
well,
actually see those moments like where he's trying
if
to
you
do it.
really think about it, if he was like, he comes back from the glimpse, right, and now he has this memory of another life that he could have lived, but it's 15 years after the inciting incident, and he's now super rich, right, and has all these these skills that he can use to like make money if he needed to. He could just get a different job, right, a less like stressful
Yeah.
one or whatever. So he's now in this like new position of like, okay, I've now reoriented my my desires in life, right? I don't care to
Right.
be the corporate cutthroat anymore. I want to have a family
Hmm.
life. But now he can have a family life as a rich person. He can actually do the thing that he wanted to pitch to Tia Leone
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
but he can now just do it with
'Cause
her,
they-
and
yeah,
she's
'cause
now
they-
no longer,
yeah.
because she's now a different person too. She's also
It
not
really,
a lawyer. She's not a
yeah,
pro
it
bono
really
lawyer.
is. It really is the daughter that got the sack advice here.
Well, the daughter and the
You know what I
boy,
mean?
the baby boy, neither
Well,
of them
yeah, but
exist anymore.
we don't really know the baby boy, but because he wasn't talking or whatever.
Yeah,
it's,
that's true.
It's the girl,
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah, that's true.
because she
And
was
she,
such a,
yeah,
a linchpin in like changing his mind and like all that stuff.
well, yeah,
So
because like she kind of like meets him on his level. She's like willing to believe the whole
yeah,
like it's not my dad thing, right? And
yeah.
the
I just love like when he drops her off at school, like where do I go now? And she just tells him, and then
yeah,
that's when
you
he
go to
learns of
work.
his day job.
Yeah.
I sell tires.
There's something that's funny about this movie though too, and this is a very 90s thing, and before it was smoking, but in this movie he drinks so much alcohol in this movie, it
Oh
is
yeah,
crazy. He's
he's
constantly
ripped
pouring
though too,
himself.
which is
Sorry, oh yeah, he is. Yeah, I mean he's kind of like, he's got like the ideal dad bod,
he's
one
in
might
great
say.
shape, but he also has either a hairpiece glued on or hair plugs at the time. Because I don't know if you noticed it, but like I was looking, like it looks like there's something a little off in that little middle part there that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
comes
you're
out, like
right.
that Bruce Willis.
I think you're right. Bruce
But
Willis when he still
but I
had
also
hair.
like that
Yeah.
too, of like all these like balding lead actors. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's much
they're
more
still
believable.
they still somehow they still somehow uphold like their sexiness or like their whatever appeal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I listen, like Nick Cage was a very like sought after movie star at that time. Like people thought he was a very attractive person. But he's not like a Chris Hemsworth type, you know.
No.
The other thing that, speaking of believability, the thing that I thought that was funny, and the just thing you just wouldn't see it today, is they're like, you're in your mid-30s. He's supposed to be in his mid-30s in this movie, and it's like, I don't know a single person in the mid-30s who looks like that. Just to be honest, because someone in who is in mid-30s on my own, and he works at a tire company, and his wife makes no money as a pro bono lawyer. They have 2 kids, and they live in a 4-bedroom house.
Oh
and
yeah.
and it's like in New Jersey, and it's like, man, that house would probably be like $700,000 now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah,
that family would not be able to afford that home. The version of this story today, it would be them living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment today, which is, I guess different, but
right.
Not saying better, just saying it would just be different. It's a different time. I get
Yeah,
it.
the house was sweet that they're in.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home, and like a sweet yard, and they have like
But
all these friends.
when he goes to the house and he's like, "Is what's her name here?" And then the guy's like, "No, no one lives here." And he's like, "Are you all right?"
And he's like,
I
no.
love those like little
Yeah.
like those like slow kind of moments where you're just in the world of the movie.
Yes, I agree.
feel like nowadays things are just like so like
plot.
They kind of
Give me
keep
more
your
plot.
attention and
Yes,
just like keep
I get
moving.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like who like this is just some random old guy who lives there now, but like we're spending like 3 minutes just kind of like he's being like a nice citizen, like
Yeah,
helping this guy out with his thoughts.
right. And like I love how he gets there and he puts his hand on like the brick wall and like feels the brick
Yeah.
wall. And it's like, yeah, that's something you would do if you were like returning to something that you felt like you recognized, and you like, oh yeah, I know that brick.
Mhm.
I would touch that brick every time I walked outside, and like that kind of thing. It feels believable. Um, yeah, I don't know.
All
This
right.
is a good movie.
And then also Danny Elfman does the music for this movie, and it's pretty good music.
It's pretty good. It's not like right home good, but it's pretty good. I like
No,
it.
it's not. It's not Danny Elfman Batman. You know what I mean? Like
No,
themes,
no,
like
no, no. I'm
Imagery
not saying
Dumped
that.
out
I'm
of
just saying
nowhere. But
like
like it's like pretty solid background music, emotional like beats. To I noticed at least, but I think I also noticed because I in the back of my head I knew Danny Elfman did it, so I guess I was kind of looking for that as well.
right. Um, there's
And
this
then also just side tangent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I watched the Spider-Man trilogy in 4K, which Danny Elfman did the music, and it's just like holy shit. I think
Yeah.
that might be his best he's ever been. The Spider-Man soundtrack, all those tunes,
The use
just
of he kind of
phenomenal.
established, in my opinion, like the use of strings to represent
Hmm.
Spider-Man, which makes sense because like webs and strings or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, it's the same. The Spider-Man video games, for instance, right?
Hmm.
Use a similar feeling music. It's obviously not Danny Elfman, but like they use that heavy string concept. Michael Giacchino used something similar again when he like recreated the original like cartoon music, and like even again for the scoring of the Tom Holland movies. So yeah, I mean Danny Elfman's like a legend, right? So it makes sense. I just don't like this movie. I
Back
watched it,
then, as
just
of late,
didn't
not
jump.
so
It
much, but
it
sure.
doesn't jump out at me as being like,
No.
uh, you know, this is Danny Elfman's movie. Because like if it was really good, I would have looked it up, and you wouldn't have had to have told me that it was Danny Elfman. But
Right.
you telling me, kind of like, okay, it makes
Yeah.
sense why it works, but it wasn't. I mean, it just doesn't jump off
It's
the
just
page.
very. I just find it very serviceable. Like it's
Yeah.
and then knowing that it's Danny Elfman, it's like, hey, cool.
So I think what this movie, I think maybe is best at is exploring, because again this the core concept of it is pretty straightforward, but the like if you take it a layer deeper, this is a movie about resentment, about resenting the choices you made in your life,
Yeah.
and then not being able to live with it. And like that's again, there's the as you said, Jeremy, like the midlife crisis thing. Often I think that comes
Hmm.
from that same feeling, that same underlying kind of emotion of, I wish I made different choices. I never got to drive a sports car, so I'm going to buy one now when I'm 55 because
Yeah.
I can now afford one, right? Um, this movie,
And then
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I think it all really comes down to Tia Leone when she's basically like, you know what? If this is what you want, I love you, and we'll do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That whole scene. It's
yeah,
like, holy cow! Like that's the piece. That's the piece of the puzzle he's missing. Is that connection, that trust, that love? Okay, if this is what you want, let's do this. I want to try to make you happy, and I know I get you're trying to make me happy or us happy, but I'm already happy. And then you have this new plan, and I'm telling you the reality is that it's going to change our lives drastically. It's not going to. I don't think it'll be as grand as you think it is, but if this is what you want, let's do it. And I think from there he really kind of focuses on what matters, and then ultimately learns that that's not the way to go.
yeah. Like his thing is like, again, I just feel like there's a bit of a muddled messaging in this movie because it's he loves his life, right? And now he's getting bring that life into another life with the person that I think what he's realizing is it's not necessarily about the kids because they don't talk about those again. It's that it's about Tia Leone's character, Kate, that
Hmm.
she is the missing piece. It's that together, right? It's like
There isn't a guy
we
in West County that wouldn't
right,
give their left
exactly.
nut to be with her.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy Piven. um, I mean, that's probably accurate, but I mean, I guess ultimately, she's like she is painted as like the ideal partner, right? Super hot,
Mm.
super understanding to the point where it doesn't even make sense how understanding she is, right? No one would be that understanding of abandoning your family on Christmas morning, for instance, right? And yes, she is super pissed about it. But I guess it's like, again, her
Yeah.
attitude in this was the version of her husband that she knows, and we have to kind of infer this, but her version of the husband that she knows, it's worth it because he's established a precedent of being a good and loving husband and father, right? And so she's willing to put up
Right.
with a little bit of craziness because she thinks that he'll come out of it or whatever. So she's extremely understanding.
Yeah.
And she's a great mom, and she's got she's a thoughtful person. She's working as a pro bono lawyer, right? That line where he's like, we can move back to the city, there's so many helpless people here, you wouldn't even run out, you would never run out of them. It's so like, that's funny. But she is kind of all over the place because at some points she's like into being spoiled, right? Like she's like forgives him for forgetting their anniversary because he takes her into the city and takes her to a fancy restaurant, and they go and they have the champagne and all that kind of stuff. And she's like into that. She's like excited about that concept.
The $5 bottle. Yeah.
Right, but it doesn't align. Right, yeah. He's like, we'll have wine by the glass.
Red. That seems great though. You feel so bad though because he knows he's gonna feel bad. She's so excited to get her gift because he's a guy that always gets her good gifts, and then but he feels terrible about it and he makes up for doing that thing. But that's the thing that he would do if he was his previous self or I guess current self in that new scenario.
I feel like he could have negotiated that a bit better though. Like he didn't have to admit to forgetting. Like he ended up taking her out to dinner that night anyway. Why couldn't he have told her that like your present's coming later? He does try to say that, but like he ends up just admitting that he didn't remember. And it's like that didn't have to play out that way.
Right.
But I mean, it's a movie and that was the script and I get it. But like I guess what I'm saying is
he was just kind of caught in the middle of it.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit, it's their anniversary, and like then he asks the daughter for advice of like what she would want and all that kind of stuff. But like he's kind of put in a difficult position. I think ultimately though.
Oh, and then when the daughter's like, "I knew you'd be back," like that's a sweet like kind of okay. He's kind of like that version of himself he's supposed to be, and she's
right because that's validation from the daughter, right? It's like okay, cool. Right, I've achieved this.
But then she's snapped out of existence like the Marvel.
Jeremy, you can't think about it. The movie does not want you to think about that.
The glimpse and it's called the glimpse here, and then in the Marvel, what they call it again?
Snap or they don't call it the snap, right?
It's something like that.
The disappearing.
No, but it's like a weird
vanishing.
word.
The vanishing.
Something like that. We'll figure it
out.
No.
Anyway,
the blip.
The blip. Yes.
That's what's.
But like, okay, here's the thing.
No, the blip. It's a 5-year period or something like that. Yeah.
The version of his life that he has the opportunity to create at the end of this movie is like arguably the best of both worlds. He gets the best of both worlds at the end of this movie, which feels like it's not in line.
That's why I said happy ending, but
with the theme of the movie though. The theme of the movie wasn't you should be able to work your high-paying job and have the family. He tried that and it didn't work, right? But now it's like, hey, now you get that.
I think as a viewer though, you just love that airport scene where he just kind of like, we have 2 kids, and like he just goes on that Nic Cage kind of rambling sales tactic.
Well, he talks about that he's like
not a sales
he's not talking yet, but he's smart because he's looking at stuff and stuff. Like he's got like he has like a lot of great like things that someone would like latch onto about like a imaginary family, basically, right? It's a little cliche. You could argue.
Don Cheadle saying that's not how it works, right? And he's kind of right, but then he has like a smirk though when he last sees him. It's like, what does that mean?
He's kind of like the devil, to be honest. He's more like a devil than an angel. Like that's the impression I get.
Nic Cage's character doesn't deserve any of this stuff. It just he picked him.
He did a nice act.
He's able to see a lesson, and it's something that he wants that he can't have. And then Nic Cage in his current self, with that knowledge, decides to seek out Kate, and it's kind of weird. And then it ends in this happy way.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Okay, that's kind of strange, but it still
Well,
makes you feel. It makes you feel the correct way coming out of a Christmas movie.
yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
It gives you the
Oh,
warm fuzzies.
and one last thing, I love that shot where he's just like standing outside and the snow is like falling. I don't know if you remember
Oh, yes,
that
I
scene.
do.
I don't remember
Yes.
exactly where it is, but it's like what an iconic like 3 second shot. It's like I want that in my profile banner or something like on social media, like just him
you want a
like
gif of you standing out
eyes
in the
closed, looking
snow.
up into the snow. It's like yeah, like it's such a cool little moment. But yeah,
I mean,
all right, that's probably it for this movie, I think.
I think that's fair. I ultimately think it's pretty good. It's just a little confused in terms of like what it's trying to tell you. But as
Mhm.
a Nic Cage vehicle, it really delivers, I think, a really quality Nic Cage performance. It matches his kind of like odd energy in a really good way,
Yeah,
right? By putting him in an odd situation, and then you get this like really robust supporting roles, specifically from Tia Leone. Don Cheadle's not in it very much, and neither is Jeremy Piven. But Tia Leone like carries the movie when they're together, and
oh yeah,
yeah, it just like it's a very enjoyable movie. It could be a little shorter at coming in at like just over 2 hours. This
yeah.
movie
It's a
doesn't
little
need to
long.
be that long. I don't think like
I
this
was like,
type of
what is
movie.
still happening? Like, what does he need to like?
Like
It
how
just
many
keeps
more things do we need to
going.
go through? Yeah, I agree. So I just like pretty
But
good,
then some of
not
those
great.
playoffs are interesting though as they're happening. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like every time he like explores a new element of his like new life, it's like a fascinating glimpse. That what it's doing is like providing the same like positive feeling that you get when there is good world building and good like lore building in more modern movies and like fantasy movies and sci-fi movies, when you're like you get a glimpse at a backstory and these types of things that you don't have it all explained to you. He's getting that experience like in the movie, and you get to like be along for the ride. But again, like the messages are just a little confused, and that's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So, Jeremy, do you have an idea for what we should do for the new year, for 2025? How do you want to ring in 2025 in the film club?
I don't, but I remember we talked about that Christopher Reeves movie I was talking about where he like time travels. So I think we may as well just do that movie.
Okay, hold on. What do you even remember what it's called? Time travel, Christopher Reeves.
Probably like in time.
Well, let's see what Google has to say. My internet's slow when we're recording like this. Somewhere in time.
Somewhere
in time from the year 1980. Okay, I'm into it. Somewhere in time.
1 hour 43.
Directed by
Romance fantasy.
Janot Swark. That's a hard name to say. SZWARC. Swark. Anyway.
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
Nice.
John Barry is the
William
music.
H. Macy.
Yeah. Okay, this will be good. Somewhere in time. I'll need to remember that. This is one of those ones where I'm going to have a hard time remembering the name of the movie over the next month while I'm promoting it on the main show. But yeah. it is what it is. Okay, let's now shift gears and talk about a more modern thing.
Okay, I gotta take a break here.
Oh yeah,
we'll
take a break. We'll take a break and we'll come right back.
And then we have a
Space, reality. All right, welcome back. We're going to be talking about the Superman trailer, James Gunn's Superman. We got our first official trailer. We also got a motion poster. We got a hint at some of the music.
Ooh, a motion poster.
You didn't think that motion poster was nice? I thought it was nice. I thought it was pretty cool, actually.
I just thought it'd be funny to say that. But
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not that exciting, but what is interesting about the Superman stuff, for me at least, is how much attention it is getting from all over. It seems that like there is a general like Superman as a character, and the interest in this movie seems to cut through seemingly a lot of the noise, and is reaching a wider audience, which is interesting. I'm not making a judgment call on that at all, but this is the first real information we get. I've seen mixed things. Some people really liked it. Some people are concerned. We don't know a lot about the plot of the movie. It's just a teaser, so that's not really what it's designed to do. But Jeremy, you're the resident DC superfan here. I mean, obviously, I like to consider myself in that club as well, but I think you're the closest to this. Where are you coming? We talked for weeks and weeks and weeks about how we needed a trailer. We couldn't make any judgment calls until we got a trailer. Well, we finally got a trailer. So, what do you think?
It's a cool trailer. I think the music is just astounding. The
Like
level of
electric
whatever
guitar.
nostalgia, yeah, like whatever nostalgia it brings you, right? Knowing the slowness of it, the electric guitar, obviously. I think rock, you know, from at least for me is like super popular. So I like seeing that represented there. Um, but all like to sum it up, I just think it's cool just to jump into a new take on Superman, just kind of like thin air essentially, if you're the greater public, and you get to see some cool things. You get to see crypto, some fun
Yes.
elements there. I think you get to lean into the tone of it, which kind of I think is strategically, however this trailer is put together, to kind of jump in unexpectedly with like very dramatic, right? With like
Yeah.
almost like the ringing of a grenade or a bomb or it went off, right? And Superman
Mm-hmm.
is just kind of Dragon Ball Z-esque, just kind of stunned and damaged through obviously battle with an enemy.
Yeah.
And then we just quickly glimpse. It's almost like his life flashing before his eyes. We get a quick glimpse of Clark Kent and his look, right, with that kind of funny perm, curly kind of modern hairdo.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he's
People
just
are
such
saying that his
like
hair is a
David
little
Corliss
funny.
Sweat, 6'4". It is funny for sure. But I mean, he is a big dude, so and I think he really nails that the clumsiness, the kind of ooh, where am I? But like I think as of he's doing that, so he's obviously gonna have fun with it. I think just kind of playing
Mm-hmm.
dumb a lot, which might rub people the wrong way. But again, this is a different take, a different tone. This is the comic book character, James Gunn, obviously, just a kid who grew up in the
Yeah.
age of comics. You know what I mean? When it was changing or evolving and just being what it is, what we know of it today. Where when we jumped into comics, we had that all behind us, this huge history.
Yeah.
So and then just switching to that back to the theme song essentially, and then having just a super cool look at what's to come. They don't show too much. They show a lot of characters. I mean, I would be I'd be lying if I said the Green Lantern part was it was cool. Like, okay, we see it, but like
Yeah.
it is a reminder of that James Gunn tone, that kind of silliness, that kind of making fun, which
Mm-hmm.
definitely has its place and will be refreshing and is cool. But we talk about like what should be or the gatekeeping or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be nice if Green Lantern was some form
A
of
little bit more
sincerity or
serious.
just like
Yeah.
reverence to what right, but then again, it's a Superman movie, so we're trying to just jump into the world of Superman. So, but then it's also attached to the greater thing where it's James Gunn trying to do the MCU, version because that works, right? So in DC in past, they didn't quote unquote make it work, even though it had cool elements, and it's probably trying to do a different thing, even though expectations were different. Um, so it'll be cool, I guess, to see how this all branches out into the Lanterns TV show. I mean, I think Lanterns is my most anticipated thing, but this Superman show with that music, with the shifting of the tones, the super melodramatic in the beginning is just super cool. Like, holy shit, we're almost just like in a scene of battle, and then it kind of like comes down again because we see Crypto, and like that's kind of silly, like the dog NATO kind of snow
Yeah.
NATO that he's making
Yeah.
is fun. Um, but then yeah, definitely definitely feels overstuffed with a lot of characters. Like they're just like, hey, here's Hawk Girl in this cool scene. Here's Mr. Terrific. It's like, hey, what is that all about? We'll see. And then I really like the last shot. I was like, he's like spinning, flying through flames, and then like into the sky. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
most impressive shot to me. I don't really care for that dragon or whatever. Just looks like
The
just looks
kaiju.
like a scene
Yeah.
of Shazam or Shazam
Yeah.
2. Um, you don't get anything really much of Lois Lane. That's fine. Lex though, it's cool to see Nicholas Hoult playing another comic book character, or just a crazy, like he's even in Furiosa, or sorry, Mad Max, right? Like as
Yeah. Yeah.
what's his
He was one
name
of the
in that?
the
Just
war
just
boys
a
in that one. Yeah.
he's Beast in the prequel
That's
X-Men
right. Yeah.
movies.
And yeah.
He's just so cool to see
Henry
him. The
McCoy.
lens, the kind of the fish, right? The fisheye lens kind of thing happening. I don't know how I feel about that too much. I think it
I
kind
watched the
of
whole. Did
didn't
you
feel
watch
right
that
to me
YouTube
when
video
Superman's
about
on his
like?
knee.
Did you watch that YouTube video about?
I know it's like a Leica lens that has like
Yeah.
different ratio. Like I get all that. That's cool. That is refreshing for a movie of this size to kind of play with that. Uh, then it's like you see like in the beginning when you see the Daily Planet like set, like it doesn't, when they're all walking towards the thing, it doesn't look very good. It does look very cheapish,
I didn't
I
get that
find.
impression. I thought it looked pretty good. The
No,
sets specifically looked good to me. Um, I did nothing
maybe it could have been the
jumped off as
position of the
cheap.
camera or something. I don't know. No, okay. Well, I mean, even just the playing with that lens and the like, because like when Superman he's on his knee, he punches the glass. Like his foot is very like the leg. I don't know if you notice that,
Yeah,
obviously. Like it's very
yeah.
just kind of warped. And then also with Lex, right? You kind of get this bulbous kind of feel of the head, which is funny, but also that there's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely there. Like
Like he's
if
wearing a
he's from a
skull cap.
faraway shot, like it doesn't look. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like so one mind it could be cool because like the film is like accentuating like just his head is basically bursting, like he's damaged here, right? We get this cool look on his face, but he's cut up. Like who knows what he's thinking? Obviously, he's very could be basically the most intelligent man in the DC universe,
Do you like the Luthor
essentially. So
Core idea instead of
no, I
LexCorp?
don't like that. That might be a gatekeeping kind of bias thing on my part, but like just
Apparently,
the
it used to
LEX.
in the comics. It apparently
Sure,
used to be
yeah.
Luthor Core. Um,
Right.
there's
Well, yeah, and
speculation.
also Guy Gardner had a bowl cut, but the bowl cut is drawn differently for a lot of people, and they decided to make a
Yeah,
bowl cut that has no fade or like a sex appeal, not or just appeal. Like, I mean,
yeah. I
and then the whole
guess.
Guy Gardner's wearing a different. He's part of Mr. Terrific's crew. It's like, dude, you're a
Yeah,
Green Lantern. Like, what is? But again, these are all
yeah. We just don't know
preconceived
yet.
notions of
Yeah,
yeah,
we just don't know
fair
yet.
enough. But all in all, it's a cool. I don't know. Like I think I kind of agree with all those sentiments that Ethan Von Sciver, the artist, that it's saying. It's obviously very joking, like how brassy is. I guess talking about
He's
all that, but like
really over the
I don't
top
know if
with
it's a
this thing.
great trailer. At the end of the day, I think the music is just really does a lot, and the title sequence is in between. It's like it looks like Star Wars or the 78 Christopher Reeves. Like they use the font, the blue in space. It's just very epic, grandiose. But again, we're reintroducing Superman, the oldest, the first superhero ever, like what 85, 90
Yeah.
years old. You're gonna want to see what's going on with him now. Like we haven't had a new Superman thing in so effing long.
Yeah, and especially it's
So
a Superman.
right,
Like
it
I know
was
people
it
are
was right.
concerned about the characters. Like there's too many characters and all this stuff, but I like if you listen to the things that like the people making this movie are saying, not just James Gunn, but those involved, this is a Superman movie first. And I think, they made it clear that this is a Superman dropping into a world, or we're being dropped into a world where Superman, this is not his origin story. There's other superheroes in the universe, as we see from the trailer, obviously. And that's just a different dynamic than we're used to with Superman. Like, we've never really had a Superman movie that is like his movie set in a wider superhero universe. We've had movies with Superman in that wider superhero universe, but nothing to this scale, and that nothing to that was this
just,
Superman focus.
That's just going to be fun no matter what.
Yeah, there's no way that's not going to be enjoyable.
As a DC nerd, especially, but even if you're not, like, you're just like, holy shit, like, who's that guy with the green ring? Who's this guy with this, with that?
Yeah,
I mean, that's just terrific. That's a weird, like, I don't know what you would think of that, like, if you don't know comics. You know what I mean? Like, that's a weird. I guess.
I mean, that is a bit, because it's like he wears that stupid thing on his face, and I get that. Yeah. I mean, he looks pretty good though. Like, in terms of like costumes, like, I think people were worried that the costumes look cheap because there was the set photos and all that stuff. But I think in action here, the costumes look good as far as I can tell. I mean, you can quibble about kind of like some of the stuff that's going on with Guy Gardner and maybe like some of those things, but Hawk Girl looks good. We don't really see her much, but
I mean, I guess I've also seen like comparison photos now online and stuff, and like you see, but it's like it's different tones, right? Different levels of similar tones, even
like comparison to like the Hawkman from the Black Adam movie, or like
no, I think it was like Hawkgirl from like one of the CW maybe Legends of Tomorrow or something like that, maybe.
Okay.
They're
and they thought
like
that version looked better.
Those costumes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think even Mr. Terrific. I think there's a legend where he appears and he looks kind of cool. He's got like cornrows or whatever. But like
that does sound right.
It looks cool.
Yeah. There was
like that one looks really sweet. But his costume is pretty easy because it is a leather jacket that is white, black, and then it says like Fair Play or something like that, right, on it. He's got the tech spheres or whatever. T-spheres.
T-spheres, yeah. I don't know if they're called.
Show those.
Well, yeah, he uses one of like he uses one as like a shield in the trailer. No, I mean not.
I just mean like if you don't even know about the character at all, like if you're just like your mom or something.
Well, they might like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm worried about my my mom at this point. Being excited, like she does not go to movies.
Up on her.
She does not go to see movies. But like I don't know. We live in an era where superheroes are all over the place. I don't think we need to worry about people not getting Mr. Terrific when the movie's about Superman. People get him, and the other stuff will, I think, probably more than likely draw people in as opposed than the other way around, right? They'll want to know more about Mr. Terrific if the characterizations are good, because it comes down to are these characters interesting, and do you want to know more about them? And I'm not saying people are going to start demanding a Mr. Terrific movie, but a little bit of like additional side interest in, I think that character is kind of cool, goes a long way to kind of sell this bigger world. I don't know. For me, this is not a perfect trailer, but it certainly is a little bit, as you said, a little bit darker than I thought it would be. Because, I think most people and the discourse online was all around like, it's about this bright shining Superman, yada yada yada, and I think the movie's still going to be doing a lot of that. Like the what was the thing on the poster was look up, right? This idea that you could like you can like it's look up to Superman, not just that he's flying in the sky, but like look up to him as a role model kind of concept. I think is clear is what they're trying to go for here. And that makes sense to me. The decision to go with, like, there is a bit of a muted color tone. Like, if you look at Superman's costume in this movie, there is more colors than there was in the DC stuff, but there's still less color than you're seeing, I think, today, even in Marvel stuff. So it is a little still muted, even in that comparison. And it's just a little bit, and like the guy throwing
scene. Yeah, the can. It's like, what the heck? It's like kind of like, whoa, like, because we are so close to this and kind of the dichotomy between the old and the new and like what's expected and all this stuff. And it's like that one is like almost too similar to what came before, to where it's like, wait, what? Why would you do that? You know
You
what I
think
mean?
it's too
'Cause
much like
I
the
think
Snyder
both
stuff?
sides are expecting, yeah, like that. I mean, yeah, like they can't, like, especially that whole,
Yeah.
like, they're all like just bashing on him or whatever, because the expectation here was to have like a little bit more of a hopeful, like shining, smiling, like not much like anguish going on, I guess, but like
Right.
or conflict, but like obviously that's gonna happen in any hero's journey movie or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but it was just kind of surprising to see like a very similar kind of aspect to where like the conversation online was like it's not even going to be close to anywhere near stuff like that. But
Well, I guess
it's just
we're
interesting. And then I don't like that
jumping
he
to
blinks when
conclusions
it
here.
hits him in the head, which is funny.
That's true.
I
I was
saw it
wondering.
on loop. I'm like, what the hell is this?
I was thinking about that, and I'm just like, I
But
was,
then it's
and
but then it's like,
you can't get caught up in that kind of stuff. I think. I don't think that
no, for
like
sure. I just found it funny to see it on loop.
oh, it's Superman
It's like
flinching at a
blink and then
can.
just blinking.
Yeah.
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 But then it's almost
Um.
like our own like bias towards the comic book character and his powers. You know what I mean? It's like just like, oh, like you know what I
Well,
mean? Like that shouldn't
yeah. I
happen.
think
Like,
you have to.
but whatever.
You if you start getting into, oh well, he's X amount powerful based on XYZ reason, you'll get
Mhm.
lost in, because the truth is
So
the
that's
character's only ever as powerful as they need to be in a given situation, and that's
yeah.
pretty
So
much the
that is what
rule of thumb.
also I find uh, somewhat refreshing with this is that it isn't like the omnipotent Superman. It's kind of cool to see him like get beat up and
Yeah.
struggle and all that stuff. Like, even though that is what we kind of saw before, but he was also just the mythological godlike kind of was like this at the center of the whole thing.
Yes.
I think that either
Yep.
you want or you don't want. I just find it very like cinematic and just like kind of just more interesting. But this tone is just simply fun. Like I think at the end of the day, people just get caught up on their bias or what they want, and then
Yeah.
you just see that battle like play out constantly, and it's like, oh, like it's basically like my dad's better than your dad type situation that people treat it
Right.
like, right? With
I mean,
like
is there
Zach
anything that
or
they
like
can do?
and James. So
Is
it's
is there anything that this movie can do to win over that audience? Is there
no,
anything
it
they
just
can do?
needs to. It's well, they're already doing all the strategic things, right? With bringing back the old vibes of the '78 Christopher Reeves movie,
Sure.
right? With the that music, it's just so important. And then also I want to know, there is not a single time where it just says Superman. Like there's no text splash like on screen
Oh, well, do you need
of
it?
the
We all know what
title.
Superman is.
No, I know, but I'm saying that is the Batman sales kind of strategic thing that they decided in a boardroom essentially. And I think that's kind of fascinating. It's like a bowl. It's like it's what you just said, but they're like, we don't want you to talk about it. But if you do find out, yeah, we said you know what it is. Look at this. We don't need to do that.
Right,
Like
like the S will do all the
that's a big deal.
talking, like the
Usually
shield.
you yeah, usually you have at the end it says the date along with, but again
Right.
we get the motion we get the poster and the motion poster that says the splash just says
Yeah.
Superman, right, and look up. But even Superman's at the very bottom, and then look up's kind of like in the middle, and then it's David Corn Sweat looking up, flying up, and then again
Gotta be
it's that
honest.
music. It's like holy cow,
His
yeah.
his name is still really hard for me to like. Every time I hear the name Corn Sweat, it's not like a really appealing sounding like word.
I
But
mean
I'm
that's
sure I'll get
unfortunate
over
for
that.
you, but like it's just that last names. It's not
Yeah,
like not everyone
it's
can
not
be
his
named
fault.
James Bond or
Yeah, I get. Well, yes, that's true. But
or
it is a funny one.
Jeremy Joseph or whatever.
No, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess like yeah, not everyone can. Not, I mean, it's like Cumberbatch to me. I think for a long time, Benedict Cumberbatch was like a name. I was like, wow, that's a funny, silly name, and this will
Mm.
have that same feeling until he's winning Oscars or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's not a
It's
ideal
not a
name.
Tom Cruise.
If you're gonna like create an
Yeah,
actor from the
yeah.
scratch, you can
You
like
would
make
never
him out of
name them
looks,
this.
name, you
Yeah,
wouldn't choose that, yeah.
yeah. No,
But I
you
think
wouldn't.
like I've watched enough of him on like YouTube or like interviews and like just he's just like a funny, quirky guy. Um, it just And then, like I'm watching this guy, and he put on tons of
Yeah.
muscle. He's six
Yeah.
four.
That's huge.
He
6'4"
loves
people are
Star Wars. His
huge.
dream role would be, yeah, he's huge. I think Henry Cavill's like 6'2", but obviously he just looks
Yeah,
like
he's got that.
Superman.
He's much more
But
like bulkier. Yeah.
he loves Star Wars. Yeah, his dream role would be to be a Jedi.
Sick.
So
Sick.
I
Bring
see
it
it from a
on.
whole different. I was like, this actor gets to be the next Superman, and he's just waiting in the wings right now. The work is done. You know what I mean?
He's like, will this work? Right? Yeah.
He's not even that he's not even that rich. He probably has like a net worth of 5 million at this. Like he's a no name actor. Like he is not
Well, if you
a
5 million, you're
household
doing pretty
name
good
at
for.
all. But he's about to be. No, I know, but like you know, what actor like? Just think of that, like, dude. Some actors have 100 million plus. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, he's not. No, he's not
just,
like he's not a superstar yet, but he has the
yeah,
potential to become that
no,
if this movie
oh,
is
for sure.
as good as it
And
can
that's what
be.
I'm saying when I'm seeing these interviews with him and just how kid like he is. It's just like I'm excited for the guy. Like you can't help anyone who fills that role. It's like holy cow, like you're on a whole different stratosphere. Like waking up every day, going to bed every night.
Thinking
Your
you're
choice,
knowing
like
you're Superman.
the choices you make, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, because Henry Cavill took that to like the craziest degree. Like just such a like a
Well, it's because he's a
just
massive nerd.
just an individual when you
Yeah.
yeah, and like you see that any interview, any answer he makes, it's like holy cow, this guy is Superman. I don't think David Corn is to that level. He's just a kid who loves acting and loves movies and is a nerd and is like a nerd too, like Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But he just seems to be very like nonchalant over it all too, from what I've seen. Which
Is that winning
which
you
is
over?
also cool, I think.
Would you say?
No, like I said, I'm excited for the guy.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy, yeah. I would say sure, yeah. I think it's
Okay, so
you don't have to present and be like Boy Scout kind of like in all
yeah,
aspects of your life now. I think these roles don't have to just. It's not like he won the lottery now he's Superman forever, and
right.
he likes lots of different things. He's gonna do lots of different movies, just like Cavill is too. He just happens to do a lot of movies in the nerd kind of culture, but those also probably pay the most. So you
That's
can't
true. You can't fault a guy for going to get his bag, right, or whatever they say.
yeah, get your bag.
What do you feel about crypto? I know this is maybe like a touchy subject, in just the sense
Yeah,
that
like the
it's
short
just
hair
very
dog
different.
versus the
Yeah.
long hair.
Well, not even that. Just that
That
there's a
too.
super dog at all.
I mean, that's the silliness that the comics has. I mean, why shy away from it, right? Like we're used to a world post Dark Knight, right, where
Yeah.
you kind of take the shit seriously, and DC was those characters where you can do that. And it was fascinating to see Batman in the light. It was fascinating to see Superman as an alien and a planet that
Yeah.
blew, like those serious things about it, and just treat it like a mythological thing. And this is not that. It's taking the comics for those stories, fun stories with cool characters and character development, and you have the best guy to probably do it that exists today for that kind of take, and that's
Translate
where we
that.
are right now. We're waiting for that to unleash. So seeing crypto is cool, and I think it's funny that because I do picture him as a short hair dog, but now seeing this, I love the fluffy kind
Yeah, he's
of
got like a
straggly
shag.
hair.
Yeah,
It
it's
totally
yeah.
looks like it looks like the Tintin dog,
Yes.
right?
100%. 100%. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a sweet dog. So
Yeah, I mean, as a dog owner myself, I'm obviously very much enjoying the fact that they included crypto. Funny enough,
right, yeah,
not the
yeah.
first time that they've included crypto. We had that Super Pets movie last year, or it was the year before.
Oh yeah, The Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Rock
so
was
weird.
like 3 different characters at one point. I think there was a post-credit scene where there was Black Adam, Superman, and one of the dogs, and I think The Rock voiced all 3 of them or
That's
something
so
like that.
funny.
Like it was actually like the hierarchy thing. Like Jim Lee even said that in one of the interviews with him. Like the hierarchy is about to change. Like they were all in on the franchise Viagra that The Rock was.
Yeah,
at one
until
point,
they weren't.
but it was like way past his prime.
Yeah,
And they didn't respect the fans, even though he said he does to a certain degree, but they just missed the boat there. Also for the trailer with crypto, the first lines we hear, "Home, take me home." Like
Yeah.
that's also evocative of the conversation around the character in the movie and what came
Yes, take the
before, right?
character
So
home.
there's so
Yeah.
many layers to this whole thing. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, all in all, cool trailer. It seems like it's breaking records. I think a lot of that might be fabricated by Warner Brothers, a little bit just to garner
maybe.
hype. I mean, we got 7 months basically before this thing is out in the wild. I think it comes out 2 weeks
I mean,
after or
you say that, but
before
also again,
Fantastic Four.
Superman is maybe one of the most well-recognized characters of all time.
He
So,
is. He's
you know,
He could essentially be number 1 and number 2 for superheroes.
yeah,
It's probably Superman 1, Spider-Man 2, Batman. No, I don't know. It's those three are on the
yeah, exactly. So it's like I wouldn't
what do you
underestimate
call
how
it, Mount
popular
Rushmore, and then
a
their
Superman
fourth
trailer could be.
is whatever.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, either way, yeah, 100%. And then you bring in
Um,
those old school vibes and that optimism, but then you kind of treat it with that craziness in the beginning, with that dramatic like bomb going off. So
well, I
well
also
done.
really loved the moment where he's like on the porch with like Pa Kent seems probably likely. People are wondering if maybe Ma Kent is
Yeah,
dead already in
whatever.
this story. Like I just feel like there's a lot of interesting like angles there. Um, like the visual look of Metropolis that looks much more in line with what we think of Metropolis when we think of like the cartoon or even the comics. I think is an interesting choice. This kind of like bright version of New York City. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I just like I think there's some of the right things are here. The Green Lantern stuff is interesting, right, Jeremy? Like, are you, there is I guess a potential that it it undercuts
Well,
Green Lantern even more than it already was
yeah,
after
but
the
I think it's like hold on a little guy. So we have the Lantern show coming.
yeah
We're not just gonna try to wow the world. The Return of Green Lantern after 2011.
yeah.
Like here it is. Like that's not that
That's not what they're
James Gunn
doing here,
is. He's like no.
right?
We're
This is
gonna
Superman.
we're gonna lean into Guy Gardner, one of the funnier characters. And we're gonna throw him in the Superman movie because it's a bigger universe movie.
Yeah,
And then we're gonna do John and Hal in the Lanterns HBO show with Kyle Chandler and the Rebel Ridge guy, who's just
yeah.
gorgeous
Which is, by
with
the
those blue
way,
eyes.
I just
So
can't. I know we talked about this before, but I just the every time you remind me that Kyle Chandler and the Rebel Ridge guy are, you know, the two gonna be the big heavies for.
is it good or bad? Is it
I
good or
love
bad?
it. I love it, Jeremy. I think it's
Oh, you
such.
love it.
I
Oh yeah,
think it's
it's
so
great. Yeah,
good.
it's fantastic.
I think it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Kyle Chandler, you kidding me? My boy Hal, Highball,
Right,
Kyle
and like,
Chandler.
there's nothing wrong. And I
Fuck
know people
yeah,
are like, oh, he's
but he's
older,
old. But again,
but it's like so.
well, I
My
think what we're
opinion of
gonna do, I think what we gotta do here is John's taking center
yes,
stage, just like he did
100%.
for our
Yes,
coming into this world essentially as children,
he's the
having
youngest one.
John be our guy in the animated series. Um, and I think it's time where he takes that mantle, and we have the story of Hal turning into Parallax.
Yes,
And when he
I
turns
was
into
just gonna
Parallax,
say that.
he
I was
has the
just gonna
gray
say
on
that.
the sides, which is
Yes.
what. But again, this is what I wanted with Tom. This is what I wanted with Cruz.
Oh,
This is
okay.
this
Yeah.
is where he was definitely going. He was going to be an older Hal, an experienced Hal, and then pass the torch to John or Kyle, probably not Guy, and become a
Probably
different
not
version of Green
guy.
Lantern.
That's
In
funny.
you know what I mean? He would become a different because Green Lantern, like when he becomes Parallax, he essentially reignites the sun, saving the DC universe. And
Yes.
then he's dead, but he's like dormant within the sun because he had the yellow impurity from the
Right.
Green Lantern central power battery on Oa. That was a retcon through Jeff John's
Right.
storytelling into
Yes.
why Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, like blew up Oa and killed his fellow Lanterns like Kilowog,
Right. Explains the
Tomar-Ray,
weakness
and all
to
that stuff. So
yellow and
all
stuff. Yeah.
that should be, yeah. So all of that is you can do that with an older Hal. I think if we're going to focus on John, I
Hundred
think that's
percent.
fascinating to see
100%.
one of our Justice League members be the main like massive villain of a whole sector, a world of DC in terms of the Green Lantern universe.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I think not to like disrespect Hal Jordan, but like any story that you'd want to tell of a young Green Lantern can be told with any other Green Lantern, and it doesn't need to be Hal. And the things that make Hal most interesting, especially in the modern era, are him as an old guy, not as the young guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got
the
a bazillion.
the brash pilot.
Yeah, we've got so many stories of him getting his ring for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, and we just
Yeah.
I just don't think we need that.
A couple animated movies and then Ryan Reynolds.
Well, yeah, and like so
that's what we got, and it's
true that he wasn't in
enough, for sure.
He wasn't in the animated series, or he makes one small appearance in the animated series, and I get that that's like.
But it's not even really him or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a vision of an alternate world or whatever. But I guess like what I'm saying is Hal Jordan
again,
has like a.
That was because the comics killed him off. So when the animated series came about, that was actually the modern continuity at the time,
right?
Where Hal wasn't the main Green Lantern, which is cool. And
right. I mean, I get
now.
Yeah.
And now we're just gonna. And it's like with Batman with the myth of it,
I was
right?
just gonna say that.
A Robin.
I was just gonna say that. Yes.
And then the comics made 4 or 5 Robins, and then the myth of all that, they can all coexist.
Yes.
So when you look at Green Lantern, the age-old story of Hal will be that he grows up to be or grows into Parallax, and there's the 3 other Human Lanterns, and Guy, John, and Kyle, and you can play with all of them. But now with the 90s and that cartoon happening, James Gunn has decided that we're going to go with John, and
which is I think a smart decision. That's a smart move.
Part of it.
I think that's the right idea. 100%. And yeah, I mean,
you get inclusivity from it.
the whole which is just a bonus, really. But like the whole benefit of joining a story in an established universe is that you get to play with these concepts that, yes, rely on years and years and years of history, but no, you don't need to know that there was 5 Robins, for instance. You don't need to know that off the gate. Which you can know was that there were Robins before, and then you get to explain or explore those dynamics over time, and in ways that like benefit the story or whatever. So if we're going to start with Damian Wayne as the Robin of the movie that we're going to get next year or in a couple of years, then it allows you to explore the Dick Grayson stuff in the Nightwing context, which we've never really had in live action before, right? And it gives you, and then
right.
and I would also
agree. I gotta bounce.
Okay, well, and then in that case, then we'll wrap it up here. Thank you to everyone. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to everyone. If I missed your specific denomination, my apologies. But thank you to another great year here at the Tower of Babel. I promise episode 200 is just around the corner. We've got a fun idea for what that will be. Nothing too crazy. And we'll start off 2025 with a bang. Small Screen Star Wars is still going. And so we got another 3 weeks of episodes for the Skeleton Crew, so stay tuned for that. And next month we'll be doing the Christopher Reeves movie for Patreon exclusive subscribers, Somewhere in Time, the 1980 movie. Now, don't ask me where that movie is on streaming. No, there's no way to know. But I'm sure we can find a version somewhere. Either way, thank you to everyone who has been listening to Tower Babble for as long as you have. If this is your first episode, thank you as well. And we look forward to another great year next year. Oh, yeah, we also have our bonus episode of our the ToBs, our top favorites of the year. That'll be coming in January as well, so stay tuned for that. But all in all, thank you, and we look forward to a strong and exciting 2025 over at Tower Babble. We'll talk to you soon.